Man, oh man, those tunes are going to keep us alive all night long. So, hey, BPTN, welcome to tonight's masterclass. And I am so excited that you're here to join us. Last week, we actually launched the Global Masterclass series for this year, and it was definitely a vibe, just like the tunes we got going for you. So, we are ready to do it tonight again. And I want to make sure that you remember to join us each and every Thursday because we are bringing you all the conversations that are happening here in the tech world right to you every Thursday. My name is Cher Jones, and I'm a corporate trainer and keynote speaker, and I am the founder of Socially Active Training. Right now, I'm here in Toronto. But what about you? Let me know where you at in the chat. We have people joining us all across the world. And hello, I see everybody. I love it. People love my energy. Well, I love your energy in the chat. So get chitty chatty. Let me know where you guys are coming from, because you know what? Today is the place to be. And every Thursday, so I see something as local as Pickering and Whitby, Toronto, Ajax. So I'm seeing a lot of Canadians right now. Where's everybody else? Bronx. That's right. Oshawa, Toronto, Woodstock. Yes, yes, yes. I'm bringing the energy tonight, and now I'm seeing it come alive in the chat. I love that. You guys have no idea. Montreal, Vaughan, Ottawa, Milton. Where's my more? Oh, I see North Carolina in the house, Jamaica. That's right. Philly, North Bay, Brampton. Anybody outside? Well, you got Jamaica outside North America besides Jamaica. Where's everybody else at? Barcelona. See, that's what I'm talking about. Coburg. All right, keeping it local. Ireland. Listen, this is the Global Masterclass series, and clearly we've got evidence of that in the chat. All right, so got a question for you guys right now. How many of you have heard the phrase, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade? I'm pretty positive that probably everybody in this chat has heard it, because it's a pretty popular phrase when it comes to encouraging optimism and a positive attitude, especially when things aren't going the way you planned. Well, we have to remember that even Beyonce, you guys remember, she made an album all based off of this concept. And tonight we are going to talk about how we can turn lemons into lemonade with our careers, because lemonade was a popular drink and it still is for all my hip hop heads watching right now. But for many Black professionals, lemons come in many forms, including no job opportunities, workplace discrimination, racial bias, lower wages, and so much more. And as we celebrate Black History Month, we are going to hear the stories and experiences from several Black men and women as they share how they overcame those career challenges and rose above the difficulties to turn lemons into lemonade. So sounds like an awesome conversation. But before we move on, I definitely want to say thank you to our partner, RBC, for bringing yet another incredible conversation to BPTN. So thank you, RBC. We appreciate you. And I would also like to wish everybody watching a happy Black History Month. We at BPTN, we are celebrating and promoting Black professionals all year around. I think you got that. But this is still an extra special month. And so we have been going ham as we show the world Black excellence and what that is all about. So now, it's no secret that life can be a little bit harder when you're blessed with extra melanin. So I got a question for you. Have you ever created an opportunity for yourself using a negative work experience? Say yes or no in the chat. I know I personally have. Sometimes those negative work experiences create an awesome, awesome seed ground to have a great conversation or to point out things that are just not happening. When you find the right person, I've seen that blossom into something awesome. I've also experienced the worst side too, but we have to continue pushing forward. So I see a lot of yeses in the chat because yes, absolutely. I love it, Crystal. Yes, we do need to take those. We need to take advantage. I know it sounds crazy, but again, lemons to lemonade. We got to take advantage of those negative experiences and see how we can work them. And that's what we're going to be getting into tonight. So I'm excited about that. And in the meantime, while you're in that chat, I want you to make sure you are dropping in your LinkedIn profile URLs so that everybody can connect with you on LinkedIn. And don't forget to let us know what your obsidy.com name is as well, so that we can get all the connections happening all at once. All right. So make sure you guys are in there engaging and connecting and lighting up that chat. So speaking of lighting up the chat, I got another question for you. So do you have a support group in your workplace or a Black ERG that you have benefited from? Yes or no in the chat. So let me get a yes or no. I know as a speaker and trainer, I've worked with a lot of ERGs, and I'm telling you, they are making a difference, and they just give us those opportunities where we can have safe conversations. So I'm seeing some yeses in the chat. Who needs an ERG? No, I see a few no's as well, which maybe sometimes that's the negative experience that maybe needs to turn into a positive. We'll see. But those are things. Yes, I've seen some big yeses up in there. Heck yes, that's right. Because we need them. We need those spaces. And guys, keep blowing up the chat. Keep dropping your LinkedIn profiles and your obsidy.com names so that people can get connected with you, because this is all about that network. So tonight, we are going to go deeper into those lemons, into lemonades in your career, so that you leave this night well informed and have some really good things that you can put into action, so that, we can be drinking lemonade together. All right. So let's take a look at the slides right now of what's coming up. This is the agenda. As you can see, we're going to have a nice fireside chat, and then a leadership panel, and then, of course, more networking and tunes, because this is what we do here at BPTN as well. I want to let you guys know about our social media. We got a little upgrade in the name. Don't worry, if you're already following, you're good to go. So our new social media handle, just in case you're trying to tag us, because that's what we want you to do, is Obsidy by BPTN. And also, same goes for the hashtag Obsidy by BPTN. That is our name across all social media channels. So if you've already been following, you got nothing to do but remember, the next time you want to tag us, use that as our new name, so you'll find us a lot quicker as well. Check out obsidy.com. And I'm sure for those of you who have already been onto obsidy.com, that is definitely the place to be, because we have launched it, and it is literally a Black Woo, you see, this is all the energy, right? Trying to bottle it all up. But it is a Black platform made. It is a platform. There we go. I'm loving this Black word. I just love it. But it is a platform made for Black professionals by Black professionals. Okay. And it's also the next big thing. And it's really going to change the game for career growers, career seekers, corporate partners, and all professionals in between. So not just professionals in tech. That's why you cannot keep this to yourself. You got to let your Black folks know that this is there. So I want to know, how many people in the chat right now are already members of obsidy.com? Say yes. And if you're not one, that's okay. No judgment. Just write not yet. And as soon as you get a moment, I want you to head over to obsidy.com and sign up for your membership. And like I said before, this is not the place to be selfish. This is the place to invite our Black professional community to join up and network. So get your friends to sign up too. Now, I see all those yeses. Look at this. Not yet. There's a few not yet. And like I said, I ain't judging you. Just make sure, if I see you come back next week and you say not yet, I'll judge you. But other than that, I'm seeing a lot of yes. So make sure you head over to obsidy.com and sign up. And now I have a question. There might be a few of you who've never heard of obsidy.com or never been here. So this is your first time. If this is your first time joining us here at BPTN, I want you to type number 1 in the chat. So how many newbies are there? And you know what I'm going to ask for all the people who've been showing up week after week. If you are an OG, you've been here, you know what's up. Type OG in the chat, represent. So I see some number 1s. I see Kim, Crystal, Tiffany, lots of number 1s. All right. There's my OG, Jim. All right. OG. That's right. So for those of you who are brand new, it's great to have you. And what I want to do is just let you know how things work. So you can use that chat. As you can see, it's already lighting up. So make sure you have those conversations in there. But beside the chat tab, there is a place where you can ask questions. So click over there so you can see how that works. as well. I want to let you know that you can move around all of these windows. You can make it comfortable just the way you want to. And if you don't like what you did, don't worry, you can't break the internet here at BPTN. We do that. But all you need to do is press that circular arrow and it will restore back to normal. So that is awesome. And if you didn't know, all of our recordings, especially if you're brand new, you can go back into the archives. They are available after our classes. So make sure that you head over and check them out. And finally, all of our bios, the slides being used, the member LinkedIn profiles, and so much more are available to you. So check them out. But all of my new friends, did you know that we have a team of talent acquisition folks from RBC? Their names are up on the screen. We've got Jim, Marianne, Sean, Satya, Marsha, and Nizam. These are the people you need to know. And knowing's half the battle. The other side is getting into that networking side of you. So make sure you're connecting with them, not only in the chat, but also on LinkedIn and Obsidy if they're over on obsidy.com as well. Okay, so now it's time. I have been talking a lot, but I still got more for you because it's trivia time. And you know how much I love my trivia. So we are going to put a question on the screen. There it is right now. In what year was Black History Month officially introduced? 1976, 1985, 2001, or 1960? Let's see. So far, one vote, guys. Come on, do better than that. Jump in there. Let me hear you. Oh, there you go. Come on, keep it moving. Let's see. Well, it's moving around. A lot of people are thinking 1985. I wonder if that's the right answer. Or is it 2001? Nah, it's been longer than that. Okay, so this is the poll, but let me tell you the right answer. The right answer, although everybody thinks it's 1985, it's not. You're wrong. It is 1976. So thank you guys so much for participating in our trivia. And I look forward to meeting our amazing panelists because we have a power pack panel here tonight, and they will dig into overcoming challenges in order to build resilience and grow professionally. But before we do that, I am super excited to move into our fireside chat tonight. And let me invite onto the stage our speakers. First up, Don Dele. Don, welcome.
Thank you. Honored to be here.
It is awesome to have you. And just because no one or not everybody knows who you are yet, I'm going to let them know that you are a senior technology leader responsible for multiple applications, services, and platforms within RBC Digital, which includes My Advisor and the Link Loyalty Technology team. You're also experienced at establishing technology strategies and policies that support the product vision. So I love that. Welcome, Don. It's great to have you.
Thank you.
Awesome. So next I have Adija. I'm going to get this right. I've been talking literally all day long. Akinsipe. Did I almost get that? Akinsipe? No.
You're very close. You're very close.
Bring me through it.
Okay, it's Akinsipe.
Akinsipe. Did I do it? Look at that. I am working it. I'm going to get it. All right. So for those of you guys who don't know, Adija is a senior manager of enterprise technology and digital recruitment at RBC. She merges business and technical visions into high quality, cost effective solutions while managing all the risk factors. So Adija, thank you so much for joining it. I'm going to pass it over to you guys. Have an amazing chat and I'll see you on the other side.
Thank you so much, Cher. I'm excited to get this conversation started. So I'm rubbing my hands together, Don. I'm excited to have this chat. Thank you so much. How are you today? Because it's been a busy week for everybody all around. How you doing?
I know. I've been wonderful. Like I said, I was honored to be here. Being here during Black History Month is spectacular. So yeah, I'm feeling good.
All right. Well, I'll take that. We love people feeling good, and I'm excited you're feeling good. So we're not going to waste any time. We're just going to get right into it because I'm about to be all in your business today. So you lead, you're responsible for digital technology I would say, of the Omni parts at RBC. Tell us how you got into tech. What is your story?
Oh, so I got into technology by accident. I'm of Nigerian background, so my parents, like as you know, they believe that if you're not a doctor, a lawyer, or some um, accountant, you've probably failed in life. So I meant to study medicine, and I'd got into class, and my minor in university was philosophy, and one of those courses was logic. And like I loved the idea of being able to solve problems, and like technology looking like a puzzle. So like I got into it, and I would say lemons to lemonade. It was very surprising when I walked into a lot of my computer science classes that there were no black people in the class. And like at the time I thought it was so difficult that people can like we can actually fathom how to solve the problem. So getting through it easily was wonderful for me. So that's how I fell into technology. It was purely by mistake.
You know what? I think there's a lot of us that can identify with the doctor, engineer, all those four. If it's not that, then it's your field. We can definitely identify with that,
Exactly.
and also your path. So, well, I'm glad you fell into technology because we definitely love your contributions at RBC and all that you do. Now, now you've moved up and you continue to do so as a black tech executive. What's How would you say it helps shape when it comes to rising above expectations, being in front or being the only person in the room, like, in your school days? How does that work?
I would say it's for me personally. I would say not everybody needs to subscribe to this. I think that just being able to prove that knowledge and success can look very different than what everybody else actually thinks it can look like is being a big driver, right? And with that comes fear. Like there were many things I was afraid of. Like you don't want to walk into a room and be the person that stinks at it, and even worse, being like, yeah, we thought you were gonna suck, right? Like so, there is an element of wanting to prove people wrong, and fear. But I would say recently in the last few years, just being able to help set the table for everybody else, like when you can look around and see, like I'm not the only one anymore, and that comfort that comes with having like people around you that get it. Like making jokes about being Nigerian before was something that like was internal, and now I could actually do it across like a conference room table. So yeah, it's wonderful, like fear and just sheer ambition.
I love it. And yes, it does. Doing that part and also shaping it certainly helps. And being able to, some things are easier to talk about now when you start seeing more representation that looks like you, thinks like you sometimes. So it's easier. Now, it's a known fact that Black people face many barriers and challenges in the workplace. What lessons would you say you've learned about yourself, and your own capabilities to try to overcome some of these barriers in your journey?
Oh, I would say biggest humility, right? Like you and I've chatted before and at work about just sometimes being like the way to actually not let these microaggressions and all these stuff crush you is just like taking a step back and being humble and realize, okay, they've like people will say their piece. Like you need to actually figure out how to respond to it. Take a second, and basically like understand. Like what does the table look like? What does the scenario look like? How do you respond to it? So I would say a big stuff for me has been humility. Just sometimes you might not be the smartest person in the room, but even then, like just noting that like there are people behind you, right? Like you're not alone. You have support, you have allies, you have people that are just curious. So yeah.
I love that. And I remember something you said in that conversation we had, that sometimes leading is not always the person in front of the room. You could be leading from the side of the room or the back of the room. And we
for,
definitely
for
learned that one
sure.
together.
For sure,
Awesome.
and that's something I would say that we've been quite lucky, like working at RBC. Like you don't always have to be a leader. You can have a voice, and very soon people start hearing like who's speaking, like who's influencing, and you get an opportunity to step up that way.
Very true, and it is something that I certainly appreciate. So I'm glad that you see the same thing too. Could you share a personal experience? I told you I was going to get in all your business. Could you share a personal experience where an opportunity came your way because you decided to turn lemons into lemonade?
uh, I could share one recently. Like you and I met a few years ago because like the 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 horrible situation with black people over the BLM summers and stuff. Like it was one of the stuff where it really it touched me in a way, and I wanted to speak up, like and I wanted to be angry, right? And in that moment, uh, an executive at RBC is like, hey, we have this Inspire committee. We want you to help chair it, and like I was like, okay, sure, like at least I can get there and just vent, right? Like and I show up and I meet people like yourself and Chini and like that was a family and a partnership that I never even knew existed or I never took advantage of before at RBC, and that for me was wonderful.
And you see, ever since you've been there, we've had all kinds of stuff that we've needed you to help with, right? So we
We're
appreciate you
growing.
joining. Yes, we are, and we appreciate you helping out because it is certainly a big deal for us. So thank you. For everyone on, it's pretty much an ERG type situation that we met up and we tend to have meetings and talk about things. And like you said, sometimes we need to vent. So it's been very good for us. Now, what's the one thing you want Black professionals in the audience to take away tonight?
That you're not alone. Like you even if it looks like you're standing there by yourself, and the problems that you might be going through seem proprietary and you're the only person who's ever experienced it. Like I can assure you, somebody's actually gotten a flavor of it somewhere. Like our lemons might come in different shapes and sizes, but like you're not alone. And I would say reach out. Like there is BPTN. You actually have allies, and sometimes in these opportunities when you feel your lowest, it's sometimes an opportunity for you to create an ally out of a friend or just somebody that you didn't actually know understood or appreciated your experience. So yeah, you're not alone.
I am going to take one thing and go a little bit off script here. So, you did say something just now that lemons come in different shapes and sizes. And I think that's important to kind of pull up and highlight that part because one person's challenge is not the same as another person's challenge, and they're all going to be different. And I think that's something that's important for us to speak about, as far as it's not a question of who's suffering the most or who's impacted the most, it's different ways. So, what would you say to someone that is trying to I would say trying to compare those lemons that are different sizes and shapes, that we understand that they're different? What would you say to somebody that would say, "Oh, well, you don't understand my problem"? What would you say to that person?
Oh, I would say nobody wins when we try and compete about like who's suffering more. Like you look at all of the marginalized communities, like when we start measuring pain, like we stop fighting. Like we're literally just standing there like talking about who's suffered more and who's had it the worst, rather than us like locking arms and saying, like what's good for all is good for one. Like, so people are going to suffer more. Like I said earlier that a driving force for me was fear. For some people, the way they handle fear would be different. Like fear of just I don't want to fail, right? Like so it held me back in some things. It also made me not like go ham on other things. So like it's our, we shouldn't measure like we'll fail if we measure who's suffering most. We should just understand that like people are suffering. We should listen and like work together to solve that problem. Like we should work together. Either we help them make lemonade or we buy their lemonade.
You know what? I like that because some of us don't want to make the lemonade. We just want to go buy it from the store. So, that makes total
Exactly.
sense. Well, I love these conversations, but next thing you know, boom, time is flying. Well, it was a fantastic conversation, and I'm sure our audience will have a lot to take away from this talk. I appreciate you, Don. You know that I always do. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
coming along. And it's been great. So I'm going to pass this on over to Cher because she brings back the extra energy. Cher has that oomph of energy that we're not going to try to match. So we're gonna have Cher come back online. Thank
Yes, I will bring the energy, Adija, but you guys were phenomenal. I loved how you went off script with your question too. So thank you for that amazing conversation. And we are going to keep the conversation going. So let me introduce to you our moderator for tonight. And it's Vanessa Omoruna. Omoruna, I think I got that. Did I get it right?
Yeah,
Yes, this has
exactly
been
right.
the night for me to be like, come on, Cher, do better, do better. And it's not like I didn't practice, but I don't know, I'm in my head tonight, but that's okay. Because let me tell everybody about you, Vanessa. You are passionate about bringing the voices of marginalized groups into the spotlight and taking on new challenges that aim to improve the world we live in. So she's the perfect person. Oops. The perfect person that we want to be connected to. And prior to joining McKinsey and Company, you worked at Accenture Canada, where you co founded the first Black employee resource group, BOLT, and you also began to advocate for Black women in the workplace. I love it. So we couldn't have a better moderator than we do tonight, right now. So welcome. And I will let you take it over from here, and I'll see you on the other side.
Thank you, Cher. Really appreciate it. My energy, inspiration as I moderate this next panel. And I'm super excited to get into the conversation and hear what our very knowledgeable panelists have to say to all of you tonight. So let me introduce our outstanding panelists. First up is Avis D. Wright. Avis is a senior account executive at Momentum AI and has a diverse career in sales and marketing, from sales rep to sales leader, customer facing to operational excellence. Creatively producing ideas and solutions is a driver in her career experience. The list goes on. Welcome, Avis. We are so happy to be speaking to you today.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Next, I would like to invite Mudupe Ogunyemi to speak to us today. I'm super excited. Mudupe is a senior communications and change manager at RBC and leads B2C and B2B marketing communication teams, as well as deploys effective go-to-market strategies to achieve business objectives. In her previous role, she led the launch and growth of a technology product from zero to over 2 million users. Absolutely iconic. Welcome, Madupe.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Last but not least is Alia Hussey, and Alia is a senior legal counsel at Bell Media and Bell TV. She is a creator and director of the Bell Media Diversity and Inclusion think tank, BCE's largest and most active business unit. Diversity Council, of course it is. As a member of the BCE legal and regulatory team, she advises the Bell Media Programming and the Bell Residential Services content teams. I see your video and audio is up. Welcome, Alia. So excited for us to be engaging in conversation and would love to jump right in. I think your audio is coming in. It sounds like you're far away from the mic. So we'll hopefully give you a chance to get the audio under control while I ask the question to the rest of the panel. So first of all, icebreaker, happy Black History Month to you all. It feels like such a lovely time to celebrate. Honestly, we should be saying happy Black History Month to everyone we see this month. So to start things off, I would like to ask all three of you, is there anything special you're doing to celebrate either for work or in your personal life to celebrate this lovely month of February with Black History? Okay, I think we're gonna try to get Alia back online with hopefully some better audio. It was working earlier, so hopefully we can get that adjusted. In the meantime, maybe Avis, you want to kick it off? Tell us about special celebrations this Black History Month.
Absolutely. I'm a part of BUILD, which is the ERG at Momentive for Black professionals. And we're focused on building Black wealth with an emphasis on the past, the present, and the future. So, as part of that initiative, I'm looking to build a collection of entrepreneurs within our community so that we can understand more about their business and how best to support them and get them the spotlight that they deserve.
Awesome. That sounds like such an amazing way to celebrate Black History Month. Okay, great. Madife, would you like to tell us what you're doing in this lovely month?
Oh, I've been channeling my inner African queen since the start of this month, like, all day, every day. I probably would have turned up here today with a headgear, like a proper African gele, if I didn't think that would be a bit of an
Right.
overkill. So I'm Black
Yeah.
365 days of the year, every single day of the year anyway, but this month I'm extra black. Like someone said, I'm blackity black this month. And I'm
Right.
showing that in every way and everywhere I go.
Absolutely love it. Yes, we are Black to Black this month. Alia, I think you're back on. Is your audio working better?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, you sound phenomenal.
Oh
Your
my
voice
goodness.
Perfect.
Well, I'm
Would
celebrating
you
Black History Month with lots of technical difficulties, apparently. But actually, I don't know. I've just been trying to have lots of fun with it. I mean, I've been dressing up my kid in every Blackity Black t-shirt he has for school every day, like sending him every day with like Black Lives Matter and Black History Month is every month and Black Panther. And I'm doing the same. I got my Nah Rosa Parks shirt on today.
love it?
Other than that, at my work, Black Professionals at Bell has a full calendar of Black History Month events happening. So I'm attending every session that looks interesting to me, which is most of them. I'm digging a lot of Instagram BHM content, which is giving me life. And I'm also trying to allow myself a little bit of quiet time and a little rest time, which I think is really important, especially given how exhausting Black History Month can be for Black people, because we're called along on so often to, provide education or to talk about things. So I'm really just trying to give myself some time and space insofar as that's possible.
Well, that sounds amazing. All three of you are really making the most of these few days we get to be right in our Blackness. So excited and look forward to hearing more from you as we get into more of the meatier questions. So wanting to just jump right in and just say, it's really no secret that Black people face many more work-related challenges, from the lack of job opportunities, workplace discrimination, racial bias, lower wages, the list unfortunately goes on. So question to all three of you, do you think within your organizations and more generally, the rise of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives actually effectively address all of the challenges that I just mentioned and that so many Black professionals experience? Or do you think that it's all talk, right? Like, do you think that employers are currently doing enough to address these challenges that many Black people face, or how could they be doing better, and what are you seeing? So maybe perhaps Dupe, would you like to kick off that question for the group?
Yeah, sure. I'm more than happy to do that. I would say that the current DEI initiatives are a step in the right direction, definitely. But there's still a lot to be done. I mean, if you were to look at, say, where we were at 2 years ago and where we're at today, I don't think you can point to a lot that happened massively across board. So I think that generally companies need to move beyond the point of, oh, we need DEI, just tick the box, yes, we've done it, to actually putting some intentionality behind what's being done and the how. like actually commit to promoting diversity within their ranks and set up meaningful metrics that really and truly track the impact of the DEI initiatives that they are putting in place. Like, how many Black people are you attracting? How many are you hiring? How many are you retaining? How are you supporting them to succeed on the job? And how are you measuring this? So if your DEI initiatives are not speaking to all of these, and if your metrics are not speaking to all of these, then we cannot truly say, or you cannot truly say that your DEI initiatives are hitting the mark. So I think it starts from there. I think it starts from companies being genuinely committed to promoting diversity as opposed to just ticking the box, like actually walking the talk, and putting meaningful metrics behind this and actually measuring it to make sure that it's being impactful and it's hitting the right audience.
Excellent. Completely agree. You cannot change what you do not measure.
Exactly.
Alrighty, Avis. How about yourself? How are you finding the DEI initiatives are living up?
So while I think some companies are all talk, I do think that companies are genuinely aiming to address these challenges through DEI initiatives. But there's always more that can be done. I think that if we're looking at how those initiatives are tied to executive salaries, there are companies who are really making that their stronghold, and they're holding executives responsible for advancement in these areas. I think that executives should intrinsically want a more diverse workplace because it drives a competitive advantage and it drives performance. Companies like Amex and McDonald's are among those who are tying compensation to DEI initiatives. But it shouldn't just be on an annual basis because there's a lot of ground that needs to be covered. And quite honestly, it takes a lot of time. And it's not just top level executives. Companies really need to do more to hire middle management leaders who value diversity and have proven track record that they do. Senior executives can champion core values and speak to advancements in DEI, but that doesn't always mirror the practices of frontline managers. So while it's a step in the right direction, there's still more ground that needs to be covered. And I think companies need to be challenged at how they're measuring advancements in DEI.
Right. So having both a top-down, bottom-up approach to solve the many challenges that exist for diverse people within organizations. Let's call it what it is. All right. Last but not least, Alia, what is your take on the question?
I mean, as we've been saying, I think it really depends on the employer. I don't think it's all talk. I mean, some companies really are doing a lot. Some companies are only saying that they're doing a lot. And, if these companies put as much time and energy into doing the effective DEI work as they put into figuring out how they're going to publicly announce that they're doing it, I think they would probably make a lot more progress. But no employer is perfect. But some really are doing quite a lot, but the concept of enough, like, are they doing enough? Until we are equal and properly represented at all levels in the workplace, and until DEI initiatives, frankly, are no longer necessary, then no one is doing enough. It's not enough. There will always be more to do until everybody is recognized in the way that they need to be recognized in the workplace. And I think a large issue for a lot of these companies that aren't doing enough is that many of them are relying pretty heavily on their ERGs, which we've already talked about today, and their ERGs are incredible, but they're relying on their ERGs to actually execute their DEI initiatives. And the issue with that is that ERGs are terrific. They give the employees a voice. They're very empowering. They create the communities within the business. But in order to effectively execute the DEI initiatives, the ERGs need to be properly resourced. Otherwise, you're just overloading your diverse employees. So you're giving them no resources, and then they're going to burn out, and they're going to leave, and then your diversity numbers are going to be even worse. So you can't just add a separate job on top of someone's existing workload and expect it to go well. They either need to have a percentage of their existing role dedicated to DEI without being penalized for doing less, bottom line work, or they have to have the budget to go along with it. Or, and this is vastly preferable, the ERGs serve as the community of the employees, and then you have a dedicated DEI department doing the actual work and making sure the initiatives are, properly implemented throughout the company, and the department has to be sufficiently staffed. You can't just have the lone VP of DEI or the lone CDO who is, going to feel under-resourced and then quit next month. There has to be a sufficient budget. It needs to be treated like a proper business team or a strategy team. As everyone says, they need measurable KPIs so that, the progress can be made in all areas. And, like we've already talked about, the initiatives have to be embedded, from top down. We can't constantly be punching up. Even if you're doing a lot, more can be done because racism isn't over.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there is no panacea to solving racism and institutional racism at that matter. So thank you for that answer, and definitely agree. We need to shift the responsibility from the Black people within organizations to solve all the challenges to the organizations themselves, and appreciate that push there. All right, so next question. Let's take a moment to talk about microaggressions for everyone in the audience. Microaggressions are negative actions or statements that are seen as discriminatory towards a marginalized group. Sometimes they are unintentional or subtle or indirect, definitely more covert. For example, telling a Black person that they speak well, insinuating that Black people aren't articulate, which we know that is not the case. Micro interventions, on the other hand, are strategies that people of color can use to address microaggressions when they happen. So question for all of you, what advice would you give to Black professionals to help them carry out effective micro-interventions when they're faced with microaggressions, both from an internal perspective and also from an organizational responsibility perspective? And maybe Avis, do you want to start us off?
Oh yeah, sure. I think unfortunately, I think, like you said, in maybe in spaces where people are unaware, I've had to let people know that, yeah, I should speak well. I learned grammar in primary school, right? Like having been, labeled as scary or angry, it's those things that you are constantly exhausted by, right? And really having to explain that to people is just even more exhausting. So I think that I no longer feel responsible to or obligated to educate people on microaggressions. Some of my best advice is just to call it out and make it visible if they truly are unaware. I think a really simple question to ask is, really, what makes you say that? And when they answer that question, or if they have trouble answering the question, maybe encourage them to look it up and educate themselves on what that is. But be careful, because there are some that are very egregious. And I would say make sure that you get the support within the organization. Let HR know or talk to your leader, and then constantly surround yourself with people who support you and people who share like experiences that can really give you actionable steps to really make that an opportunity to turn things around. But I feel like overall, these are things that organizations should really take charge of and make sure that they're training their associates and training their employees and management on these types of behaviors, because it can truly make a difference in people's performance and how they show up at work. And so I think it's an organizational responsibility to make sure that they're training and taking care of this so that we don't have to.
Completely agree. Making the organization safe psychologically for everyone is definitely the responsibility of the org. Alia, same question. What type of advice do you have for people to have some effective micro interventions if they feel like they have been microaggressed, and both from an internal and an organizational perspective?
I mean, yeah, very, very similar thoughts. I mean, the first thing I would say, really, just to the audience here is listen, Black people, the onus is not on you to fix the harm that has been done to you. If you're the victim of harm, it's not on you to fix it. Like, can you imagine? Can you imagine saying to someone who's been punched in the face in the workplace, saying, "Well, did you speak to the person who punched you, and have you told them that you don't like to feel punched?" Like, it's ludicrous, but that's how we tend to treat microaggressions, right? I mean, but having said that, the reality is, in the world that we live in, no one is going to fix it for you until you bring it to their attention. And it's difficult and it's not fair and it's not right. But unless we say something to our aggressor, and unless we say that's not acceptable, and unless we say something to HR and allow HR to appropriately address the microaggression, like, nothing will really be done about it. And I mean, I like that. I love the approach of asking people to explain themselves. I love just a good one is just kind of playing dumb a little bit, and just saying, like, I don't understand, like, what do you mean by that? No, but can you explain that to me? I don't really. And just force people to face to have to articulate exactly what they're saying. It makes the aggressor feel very uncomfortable, and it gets your point across. But part of the problem with the nature of microaggressions is that, and actually dealing with them in the workplace, is that most of the time they're so uncomfortable, we just want to share it with somebody who will understand, and then we don't want it to go any further. So we just want to feel relieved. So we go to our friends, we go to our, like, other Black friend at the office and talk about what happened, and then you feel better because it's cathartic, right? And then people don't want it to go any further. They don't want to report it to HR, generally because it's incredibly awkward to have to deal with, the for lack of a better word, the retaliation that comes from addressing a microaggression. There's that awkward existence that has to hang in the air afterwards once, your colleague who said something racist to you has been spoken to, right? It's very uncomfortable. So the result is that, Black people just bear the burden of the awkward, uncomfortable existence of racism. And that's really the biggest problem with microaggressions. But from an organizational perspective, things can be done, as we mentioned earlier. I mean, organizations can have strict policies about microaggressions. Like, people think microaggressions are complicated, but they're not. They're injurious and they need to be treated as such. So there needs to be zero tolerance policies in place. There need to be protocols of consequences. I mean, some of those consequences could be mandatory training for the aggressors. You make an aggression, you are assigned a mandatory training every single time. Kind of like, you click on the fake phishing email that your cybersecurity team is sending out to you all the time, and then you get, like, cybersecurity training. Same thing, right? Keep doing it until it stops happening, or maybe after a certain number of strikes you're out. I don't know, I'm not in HR. But another organizational measure that could be done is implementing mandatory bystander training, which is something that is available, and it's incredibly uncomfortable to hear someone say something racist in a room full of people and nobody does anything. But if we normalize bystander intervention, then that would become less uncomfortable. Everybody in the room would know what was going on. And it's tough to call somebody out for saying something inappropriate to a colleague, but it's so much less awkward to do it for a colleague instead of when the harmed person is you, right? So the other problem, sorry, I will stop talking, but when the bystanders stand up, it's usually someone else from an equity deserving community who puts themselves out there and risks themselves. So if we normalize it for everyone, and if everyone has bystander intervention training, then if it's mandatory, I mean, I can only assume that the microaggressions will at least somewhat decrease. People are being called out for it on a regular basis. I'm done.
Thank you. Well, so many great tips, and definitely agree. I think the large takeaway is you got to spread the responsibility across the organization. It's just not confined to the person who has experienced the microaggression. It really is about bringing in a larger landscape and ecosystem of people to help solve these types of challenges. So thank you for that lovely response. So moving on to the next question. According to a Brookfield study, only 3% of Canadian tech workers are Black. What can tech companies do to remove barriers Black professionals face and encourage growth and development to support them throughout their careers? I think a lot of people on the line would be super interested in hearing the responses to this. Why don't we start off with Madupa, if you wanted to jump on and talk to us about ways to remove some of these barriers?
It's really not very difficult. The starting point I would say is trust them. It's really that simple. Trust the Black professionals, trust that they can do the job, because technology has no color. Technical skills have no color. Education has no color. So trust the Black professionals enough to be able to put them on the job, and stop putting them through 7 stages of interviews, for instance, for a role that you would normally do 2 rounds of interviews for, so things like that. I think for me, that's the most important thing, and also have a little empathy, educate yourself a bit more about what it's like being Black. For every single Black person, okay, I don't have the stats, at hand, but I would say for majority of Black people you see in a workplace in North America, that person most likely climbed a mountain to be there. In many instances, actually several mountains, So, and we're not asking for too much. Just give them the tools that you give everyone else. Give them the same space and let them fly. It really is that simple. That's what tech companies need to do to increase the number of Black people they have in their hands and help them to succeed. Just give them the same space, the same tools, the same level playing field that you give everyone else.
Right. So giving them opportunities, equity, and really it's about meritocracy, allowing people to succeed based off of their merit. I think those are all great ways that tech companies can remove barriers. Alia, how about you? What do you think tech companies can do to break down the barriers for Black professionals, both Black talent and then Black professionals within organizations?
I mean, I have thoughts, like a lot. Bear with me here. We all know that barriers to career entry and growth are created by systemic racism. Like, that's just facts. That's why we're here. It's systemic racism. And the barriers can't be removed until the tech companies do the work to dismantle the racism in the system. And the higher up the companies you go, the less diversity you see. It's part of the system. So companies need to set specific public-facing, preferably, targets for senior leadership to allow themselves to be held accountable for achieving certain goals. So, it's not that complicated, as we were saying. In order to break down the barriers, companies need to bring the Black talent into their companies. They have to hire us. And in order to do that, companies need to be places that Black talent would want to work. So they have to show themselves as companies that actually care about Black people, first of all. And it's hard to do that if, your entire board is white, if all of your public-facing materials are white. And the talent acquisition teams need to create relationships with the communities that the business serves. Otherwise, it's not going to track. So that's where partnerships with organizations such as BPTN comes in, so that companies can specifically attract Black talent. So they got to show up to events like this. And companies also need to debias all their hiring processes, have diverse interview panels, anonymize resumes, apply anti-bias lenses to the job posting, post in places that Black people will see them, make sure that diverse talent is shortlisted, because we all know that diverse talent is good and it's there. It just needs to get shortlisted. And also, gosh, this one's so obvious and we talk about it all the time and we beat it to death. But, companies need to implement mandatory unconscious bias training at all levels. And this is sort of part of the growth thing when it's also the barriers to entry thing. And I'm also not saying that unconscious bias training is magic, because it definitely isn't, but it's certainly better than not having it. And the real issue is that companies need to invest in good unconscious bias training. There are a lot of stinkers out there, so do your research. And require repeated training, annual, biannual. Yes, it's expensive, but so is employee turnover, right? Another great thing, I'm just going to toot Bell's horn for a second here. What Bell has done is they've layered in inclusive leadership training, which is slightly different. It's not about unconscious bias. It's focused more on inclusion of all your team members, and that's a different skill set, and it's very important and something that I would recommend for companies. And one really great thing that was implemented at my company was an anti-racism guide for team members, all team members, leaders, and members of all teams, which is huge. And it came about when the Black Lives Matter movement had its moment in 2020. A lot of us were faced with leaders that honestly did not know what to do. I mean, I'm sure we all experienced they were just like frozen. They knew they had to do something, but they didn't know what to do. So the goal of the anti-racism guide is literally to provide direct learnings on how to engage in conversations about racism with your teams and colleagues. And, you know, it's unfortunate that we need it, but we need it in the workplace. So that's something that do. And then once you've had that engagement, like as we were saying, you know, you kind of foster that trust, and then that's where the growth can come. And as far as encouraging the growth and development, it can be as simple as including your Black colleagues in the development programs and career growth programs that already exist within the companies. I mean, if you look around in those programs, you know, if everybody's white, that's an issue. So just make sure that not everyone in those programs is white. Like, allow Black team members to have those experiences. And also develop formalized mentorship programs and ensure that Black team members are in the list of mentees. It's very difficult to approach mentors who can help you grow in your career if you're not given access to them. So we have to give access to mentors. And then finally, I would say we really need to spread the good work around. I mean, providing growth opportunities for all your team members and not just the ones that you really like because you think they do the good work. Like, if you're rewarding all of your favorite dude bros with like every high level special project that has executive attention, like, I guarantee you're denying the company the talent of employees that get ignored because they don't look the part, right? And then the final thing I will say about this is that Black employees, I mean, we also need to empower ourselves to speak up and put our hands up for those opportunities. Like, ask for them, because nothing ventured, nothing gained. And I say this all the time, but don't let yourself fly under the radar. And I know it's easier to do that. You don't get noticed, then you don't get the microaggressions flung at you so much, and you don't get in trouble for something that's not your fault. But if you don't get noticed, you also don't get noticed for what makes you outstanding, and then you don't get flagged for growth opportunities. So get noticed and take up some space and make room for yourself. I'm done.
Excellent. As always, very tactical and many useful tips for us in the audience and for organizations at large. I want to move on to the next question, and the theme of our conversation in this whole event is lemons to lemonade. And as we know, unfortunately, life will always throw lemons our way. So can you share what actionable steps you have all taken and will continue to take to boost optimism and ensure a positive outcome as we are dealing with what life has to throw our way? Avis, perhaps you can start us off here.
Yeah, so I think it's important to, when you're facing any kind of tough situation, when you've been thrown that lemon, take a moment and just feel how you feel, right? I think it's important to acknowledge what has happened and how it makes you feel, and be in a place, in a space where you can deal with your emotions of the situation and really try to cultivate a peaceful mindset that encourages some optimism. And then just breathe, right? Just take a breath and remember that, our resilience is our power, and there is always a path forward. Like, there is always a way to make it happen. So just remember, our resilience is our power. And then surround yourself with people who see you and they want nothing but the best for you. They can relate to your experience, and they have good stuff to give you. That can be your ERGs, that can be individuals, throughout the course of your life, who've just been there for you. But they should be those individuals who can help you strategize and come up with a solution that's actionable and that addresses the issue. Because I think so many times we kind of go it alone. It's kind of like what Don was saying earlier. We think that no one has ever experienced it. And sometimes we also don't want to ask for help because it creates that sense of vulnerability. And I think we just have to realize that we are a huge community, and there is a way forward. Surround yourself with those people who want to nourish that in you, and recognize that you are not alone. There's so many individuals out there who want nothing but the best for you.
Completely agree. We can always find solace in others who will help lift us up. Maduka, same question. How do you deal with lemons? How will you continue to deal with lemons? Stay positive, and boost your optimism.
Um, I think for me, the most genius thing that I have done in my career is to never give up. Like literally, always keep going. There are times when I don't get what I want. I don't get the jobs I want. Blah blah blah. There are times when I get frustrated. There are times when I fall. There are times when I fail. But those are my lemons, and the way I turn them into lemonade is to never unpack there. I think it's okay to fail, and we all do from time to time, and we really need to normalize that. In as much as it's great to hear people's success stories, we also need to, recognize the fact that it won't always be smooth sailing, and that's fine. You know, it's okay to fall, it's okay to fail. What's not okay is to unpack there. You know, whatever happens, whenever it is you face adversity, in your career, do not choose, make an intentional choice not to make that situation a full stop in your story. Okay, choose to make it a comma and keep going. And that's the attitude I adopt to everything. You know, and if I knock on a door, it doesn't open, I move on to the next door and move on to the one after that. I move on and I keep moving on until I find the one that will open, because eventually it will open. That saying that opportunity opportunity only comes once is a lie. Opportunity comes several times, and it will keep coming until you're ready to grab it. So keep going. If you wanted something, you didn't get it, or some opportunity fell through, take some time to, if you're getting frustrated with the process, take some time to unplug, rest, but then get back up and keep going. Eventually you'll find your own door. That's how you make lemonade.
I love it. Preach to the congregation. This is fantastic. I think amazing, amazing nuggets there. Alia, same question. How do you go from lemons to amazing, wonderful lemonade?
I mean, that was just all positivity. I don't even know if I can follow that. I guess I personally have made a huge effort to take opportunities when they present themselves or when they're presented to me. In almost every case, I have said yes to growth when it is offered. So that's my advice, is to say yes to things that will grow you and say no to things that will detract from your growth. And learn which is which with issues. Like, don't, as we said, failure is part of success, but don't set yourself up to fail. Self-empowerment is huge. So really listen to yourself and think about what is going to encourage your growth and what is just going to kind of bog you down, and ditch the baggage. Secondly, and we've touched on this already, but when I was feeling alienated, I created a community for myself and other diverse team members, and that was the Bell Media Diversity and Inclusion Think Tank. And it brought together like-minded individuals for the company, and together we've become this powerful advocacy group. But more importantly, we've become a safe space for people to share themselves. So if you can find that space for yourself, that's amazing. I mean, there's one here now, like BPTN has created one. But if you can't find one, you can make one. And you can see I'm like super into self-empowerment right now because you can't kind of wait for someone else to empower you. You've got to do it yourself. And then finally, I think this is really important. you cannot kind of make the lemonade unless you create joy for yourself. You make space for yourself. So I would say make space for yourself, especially when you're exhausted, especially when you're feeling depleted, and especially when you feel like you don't have the time or space in your life. Just find something small to grow the joy in your life. I recently was feeling completely depleted, and I would joke with my friends, but I was also sort of not doing it. I would be like, there's no joy in my life. So then I took up piano again after 30 years of not playing. I used to play a lot as a kid, and then I completely stopped, and I haven't played for over 30 years. And man, in the very short amount of time, I actually feel like I have built new pathways in my brain to just create space for happiness and growth. So just try to find space and joy for yourself, because it'll help you bring your best self forward in everything you do. It'll make everything seem more joyful, and it's so much easier to grow when you're feeling good.
I agree. I love that. I think our mindset helps to shape the worlds around us, and really colors over the spaces which we occupy. So building those positive neural pathways, really changing your brain anatomy, I think it all is very helpful in making us live a more joyful life. Well, thank you to all three of you. As we wrap up and prepare to end the evening, may all of you just give us one key takeaway. I feel like, Dupa, you have so many like one-liners that are popping up in the chat to choose from, but one key takeaway for the audience, and maybe we'll start off with the lovely Avis.
Oh
Okay.
my
Do you want me to?
goodness, that's going to be so hard because as everybody else was speaking, I was taking notes because it's been like amazing nuggets shared. So, okay, I would say our resilience is our power. Tap into it, and just be confident in who you are and everything that you have to offer. Find the best people who support you and surround yourself with them, and just always know that there is a path forward. And there's always the next best step.
Awesome. Love it. Ali, do you want to go next?
Sure. I mean, I think I'm just going to double down on the whole self-empowerment thing, and not to be a shrinking violet. Don't fly under the radar in the name of blending in, because we won't blend in. We don't blend in. So, people won't notice what makes you incredible if you don't show it to them. So show it to them and go for it, because you never know where it might take you. Oh, and create your own joy.
Awesome. Lovely. And last but not least, would you like to share a key takeaway for the group?
I would say, as a Black person in North America, it's really important to guard your confidence really closely. It's very important, especially when, I mean, we're talking earlier about things like microaggressions in the workplace and all that. So it's really important to always come back to yourself and know your self-worth, and not allow anyone to steal that from you or anyone to erode that. So get a hype squad if you can. Use affirmations in front of the mirror every morning if you can. Anything at all you can to always remind yourself of who you are and your self-worth. That might be one of the best things you can do for yourself.
Amazing. Well, thank you three so much. This has been an absolutely fantastic panel. I am sure our audience, and I could see from the chat, people are commenting, making connections, resonating so much with what you all have to say. So I know that there's going to be some amazing takeaways, and people are going to grow in their confidence and hopefully have some key strategies to combat some of the barriers we all face, and really making those lemons into lemonade. I personally prefer a Perrier with a lemon squeeze, but whatever drink is up to your standards. This has been a great conversation. I'm infinitely blessed to have been the moderator of this panel. I'll hand it back over to Cher to take us into the rest of the evening. But again, I want to say thank you to all three of you for spending the evening with us. It's been fantastic.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Wow, this conversation definitely made me thirsty because our resilience is our power indeed. And there is a pathway forward. And we have to remember while we're on that path, we do not blend in, we stand out. And while you're standing out, make sure you guard your confidence. Oh my goodness, nuggets after nuggets after nuggets. This has been such an amazing discussion, you guys. I was blessed as well. So I hope you guys found some encouragement and learned some useful advice on how you can rise above your challenges as we develop ourselves personally and professionally, because when we hear stories like this, it gives us that motivation, and the fact that we know other people are doing it, we can do it too, right? So stand out. And so before I let you go, I want to thank Vanessa for that awesome panel. You did a fantastic job moderating. And Madupa, Avis, and Alia, you guys were just dropping those nuggets. Oh my goodness, I could not put my pen down. And thank you, RBC, for being our partner for tonight's event. I hope you guys were connecting with all the talent acquisition professionals from RBC because they're there to help you get connected into new opportunities. Thank you, audience. You guys were like fire in the chat. So I loved it. Don't forget to connect with us on social media and fill out the survey. And you guys, this was awesome. So make sure that you guys post your thoughts about today's event. Take a nugget, just one nugget. I know you have tons of notes, maybe even 2 nuggets, and share it on obsidian.com because that's where the conversation goes after this ends for the evening. So make sure you go connect after this and continue the conversation. So head over to obsidian.com if you haven't gone there as of yet. Thank you guys for joining us and have an amazing night. Enjoy the tunes.